day, and he was like, "Oh, here we go!
You're on!
Hey, good morning."
Hang on, an error occurred on Facebook. Oh,
what?
Awesome! We are live. I'm
back.
Happy week, everybody.
Yeah, after the sanctity of Sunday, which we didn't. Let's be honest, we did. It wasn't because we were unprepared or didn't want to do it, but we wanted to leave it for all the mamas in the world, didn't we? Which I thought was quite lovely.
It is, and as you were just saying the other day, Simon, being a mum is the hardest job in the world, isn't it?
Yeah, I remember. I think I remember saying that, didn't I? Well, harder than a surgeon.
You did. Those were your exact words. Harder than a surgeon. Not at all like a nuclear submarine commander.
No, exactly, yeah.
It's often more challenging.
Yeah, there's young mum down here with 7 kids. It looks really hard. Oh.
We are live now. Good morning, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Mr. Whale, you're looking a little bit hot and bothered there. Do you not want to loosen up a bit?
I am, David, but that wasn't how we agreed we were going to set it up, was it? Which is all about professionalism and everything else there. I was going to go into a long routine about how I'm a little bit bored with prop tech, estate agencies getting there. So I really want to get into the whole political game now, of course. And with everything that's going on at Property Mark and indeed Arla, I think it's about time we threw our support behind. We understand the massive power we have here, don't we, David, at Kerfuffle Towers? So we've had to remain above everything, haven't we?
We've had to sit on our hands for so long. I think it's time for you to take those gloves off.
You can't get, the whale bounce now. We need to come up with everything that's happening. So I'm going to be the new spin doctor for Mr. Votter. It's Votter by Arla.
I think that could actually
It's our new political range of merch, mate. It's our new political range. Let me get it so that people can see. Eyes appear, people. Eyes appear. Yes, so there we are. I didn't ask for his right to use. I don't think you have to, do you, with copyright like that? I didn't ask for the perfume, so screw
I'm not sure. I mean, what do you think if there was a scent called Votter by Arla?
What would it smell of?
What would it smell of?
Well, my go-to is almonds, as you know, because then if I am mad, I don't know, would that set me off? What do they call it when you scent something and, would I just get all amaretto with it? I don't know. I'd certainly get all amore with him.
Like a trigger?
A trigger. That's exactly right. It's exactly right. So, look, I think we've just got to start saying now we are going to start getting involved in the whole game of homes, political game in property, aren't we?
I think so. And we're talking about politics getting involved in stuff.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something from the news last week. So we've got this ridiculous P&O debacle.
Yeah.
And obviously politics and politicians at the highest level are getting involved in this debate, and rightly so. Yeah. It's a massive company and a massive concern. And I think, was it about 700 or 800 UK jobs that were under threat? The question is,
go on.
Does this in fact happen more regularly than we think with smaller companies and just flies under the radar? Has it happened within our industry at the beginning? Do you remember the beginning of lockdown? There was a story about a particular corporate agent. Not going to mention any names.
Can we not mention, or is that are we too gobshite to not mention it? Or
you can mention names if you like, but it was
I can't be caught in a I was going to say a scissors scene, but that's different, isn't it? I can't be caught in a sandwich from Votter and that particular agency. So let's steer away from that, shall we?
We shall, but there's.
You're right. I think the problem isn't it very much a corporate scene though, because they would say it's the only way they could do it scalable and immediate, isn't it?
Well, I think the real story is that clearly trade's been hit by a mixture of Brexit and COVID.
If only someone had warned them.
But rather than make it about that, we're talking all about the jobs, which is obviously the human cost of it.
Yeah.
But I just wonder, what it takes for government to get involved in those sort of things. And if, in fact, it has a right to step in so late. Should they have stepped in earlier?
Yeah, I think I'm just trying to find what the name. I got as ever. I wake up on a Monday morning and I hear the birds singing, and I immediately go to my political stories to then rant and rage for the next hour. And what's her name? Is it the Baroness Des Moines or something like that who secured all the PPE stuff and allegedly made many donations to the Tory party and everything else there? But she bought, apparently the details of it is, the height of lockdown, she bought from China 43 million, around that amount at cost, and sold it back to the NHS for 130 million quid or something like that. I mean, that's just pure profiteering, isn't it? But where's the outrage? Where's the outrage there? It's absolutely staggering.
I don't know when the public outrage is going to come. I think there's a lot of... I think this government clearly has not showered itself in glory in any way, but ultimate public outrage to sort of unseat them, it doesn't seem to be there. It's there among sort of lefty liberals like you, but...
Yeah, isn't it? I mean, the problem is this is their fault. It was interestingly, there was a Falkland show on last night, and it seems that again, people all you get that that kind of war bounce, don't you? That where everyone says just get behind them and everything else. So all of the parties in number 10 and everything else have disappeared. Obviously, at least off the front pages for a while now. His approval ratings are obviously still appalling and everything else. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, what point does this become actually relevant to anyone else where they give enough of a toss? Are we the lefty liberals? Are we just sat here talking to ourselves and the other lefty liberal, Christian Byfield? Morning, my lovely, as we said.
I'm Rob Wells. Rob Wells, tell us how you did at your fight. How did you get on, my friend? I didn't see. Do you know how Rob got on?
Was he at the Oscars as well?
Well, that was interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, it was.
Well, there has to be some actions at an award ceremony. Whose wife? You asked the question this morning. Who would hit you? And the question is, whose wife would you insult to get hit?
So first of all, you've broken the first caveat that you never disclose what we talk about on WhatsApp. That is a pure and honest private place that we like to keep amongst ourselves.
Listen, it's a slow news week. I have to use what I've got. I've
messaged Nighty and I've said, look, new idea for EA Masters. Amy Hansen came up with what was it? Ryan Latterly of Leader Fox said, I would love to punch you. I'd happily give £100. Amy Hansen came straight back and said that would make more money for Agents Giving than any other. So, we were talking about this whole Ukraine, which we're going to come to in a minute, is still a fantastic, obviously people need to get behind. But one of the things that everyone was talking about was what was the name? So maybe punching for Putin, or no, not punching for Putin. That's wrong, isn't it? I've got that wrong again. Punching against Putin. That's the new way. 50. Oh no, what did Ryan said? I can't. 100 quid a punch. You get one punch on me. I'm going to be a bloody mess, aren't I? That's not a stand I want to be on at any of these conferences.
It's a really I think it's a really interesting feature of a good Oscars is that there has to be some sort of controversy. And there is one man that's been in the news that I think a lot of people would like to punch for charity, and it's not you. It's somebody that courts controversy in our industry wherever he can.
I think I know where we're going with this.
And I'm going to rely on you to put this story up on screen. Yeah. Can you do that?
I certainly can do. Let's have a look here. Because I'm a tech guru, aren't I? So I should be able to use. Here we go. Go to Chrome. Here we are. Russell Quirk. Here we go. So what have we got? Russell Quirk's tips for handling trolls on social media. He's caused plenty of controversy. Yes, he has.
Now scroll down to the comments, because that's where the story really starts.
let me just read this. He in his latest interview with, I think this is a new fellow, isn't it? Christopher Watkins. He explains that trolls are driven by the search for attention, and he hasn't put little caveats around that, which are there. Quirk points out that if you do show any interest and ignore them, they might back away, or it's not always the case. And you want to go to surely they must have closed these down quite quickly.
I think the top one there, what's that?
He explains that trolls are driven by the search for attention. Priceless. Diogenes. Rob Hailston, don't agree with a lot said by Russell, especially the headline grabbing bits. Those are the best bit. He genuinely, Russell understands a headline better than any human alive, no matter what. Especially with the conveyancing process and conveyances, but I've always and will always put my name to my comments. Well done, Rob. Best legs outside of Votter in the industry, by the way, Rob Hailstone. What else we got here? It's okay ignoring them. What's this one here? Danny Marino, late of this parish, because like all trolls, PB hid behind a silly false name, probably tapping away in his darkened bedroom until he got bored and moving on to trolling mum's debt.
So a lot of us now know who PB is because he outed himself at some point, and it just turns out he was one of Robert May's zealots, if you like, a very fervent commentator about everything to do with purple bricks, clearly. Anything to do with alleged portal juggling or gaming of the system. Does it really matter that he didn't use his own name?
I don't think it does. No, I don't think
as long as the content and the comments are, I mean, do we care that Christian Byfield's, goes as Viking 21 or whatever it might be?
Yeah, but that's different though, isn't it? Isn't it just the anonymity angle there again? I think that's always the one it seems to come back to, isn't it? Is that it's if you're not willing. So I don't know. It all depends again what you're coming up with. If it's just the odd little hand grenade thrown in, I don't think it's a problem. Isn't trolling about the deliberate and consistent targeting, or can you be a kind of accidental troll?
I think you can be an accidental troll. It depends whether or not your comments got any particular value in the debate, isn't it?
And does that just then mean you've got a shit personality and you just weren't aware of it?
Yeah, well, sometimes like a troll, as they would have it, is the bully in the playground, isn't it? It's that kid who constantly goes for the weaker kid and constantly sort of picks at their weak points. Yeah. I don't necessarily think that industry commentators, when they all pile in on those property industry, sometimes they're not particularly polite. But let's face it, most of the people that get written about in Pi and other publications, they want to be in there.
So is it about whether they can defend themselves then? So can you not troll a corporate, for example, or is that because and some of that corporate trolling is fantastically hilarious.
I think if you remember back in the day, and I think I might have been guilty of it, but the Bruce brothers, whilst they were at the helm of Purple Bricks, they handled trolling in one way, which was just to throw lawyers at it. Okay, and they will take it extremely seriously.
Cease and desist angle,
cease and desist, and all that sort of stuff. Because there were people that set up spoof Twitter accounts. There were people that created spoof adverts. There was all sorts of stuff that people did using humor to try and sort of deride a ridiculous business model at the time. But I think that is it. You said it this weekend. I said to you, "Oh, you should censor yourself a little bit more online," and you said, "No, I defend my British right to self-deprecation." But it's true. Don't we have also that right to? It's satire, isn't it, in its purest form?
Let's not sort of beat around the bush. Let's actually talk about what it is. You dropped me a line, didn't you? Which I thought you can only have had a bad day. There, and you said
I was having a bad week.
What you said? Oh look, we're obviously trying to be serious here. I made a comment. What had I said? It was a throwaway comment about I've been destroying businesses for ages. You came back and said, we do a lot of fantastic, you've probably been on 3 consultancy calls yourself. We do a lot of great work for people, and we don't want you ruining it, Whaley, and letting them think that you're destroying these businesses. I came back and said, it's interesting that you thought of it like that, because I was actually talking about just ruining my own businesses, which I thought was obviously self-deprecating and might not have been funny, but that's never worried me, as Agents Giving will tell you.
I've realized that, but taking that that's so you defended your right for
Yes,
what you call classic sort of British self-deprecating humor.
Yeah, like Boris would do. I'm comparing that to the Ukraine struggle. Yes, so in a way, I'm fighting for freedom.
Really, that's where we're going now. That's
really where we're going. I like these Mondays. These are full of energy. These Monday meetings, sets the week off right.
But I think we've also got. I think one thing that the British do better, and British comedy does it so well. Yeah. And you've got stuff that, well, if you look at even stuff like Blackadder, you've got stuff like obviously Spitting Image back in the day when it was still good.
When it was beyond parody.
When it was beyond parody, but parody and satire and political satire is very much our thing as a people. And I think that if people need anonymity in order to do it properly, I think that's what they should have. Guido Fawkes and all that.
Sometimes you do need that angle, don't you? It's interesting, actually. Christians has made that point. It's healthy to be offended once in a while. And taking it back to the Oscars there, famously, in a prim and proper industry, those Oscars speeches, and when Ricky Gervais does the Globes and that, it does... prick the pomposity as well there. Now, do you think he was okay? Chris Rock was okay to say that, because I thought it was a fairly neutral.
In this case, it was personal to just that situation, because Will Smith knew that his wife had that hairstyle because she's got a medical condition.
She's got alopecia, isn't she? Isn't that
alopecia? Yeah. Wow, this is an eclectic podcast. We'll be talking about gazumping and whether or not you agree we'll get rid of it. And alopecia for women, is it a thing?
Mindfulness, health. Where were you, Watkins? Where were you with stuff when it needs to happen?
We'll talk about Watkins in a minute. Yeah, but as Rob says, fair play to Will Smith in defending his wife. I think it was just a spur of the moment thing. I think what you saw, I hope, was genuine emotion on stage. Otherwise, that's the best staged.
Well, there's a lot of people saying I was going to ask you, did you think I didn't? I thought the way that Chris Rock's voice kind of trembled, because I'd have been sobbing like, I wouldn't have got off the floor. He took that. I know it was an open slap, wasn't it? But that's coming from the man that used to be Muhammad Ali.
Chris Rock knew he went for a joke on the edge and paid the price. Fair play. It was a slap and not a brutal kicking.
I love the idea that he does a brutal kicking. Stands there, Joe Pesci style, just stamping away on Chris Rock.
So was it staged like Watkins and Bywater, or is it?
Watkins and Bywater. Yeah,
did you catch? So that's interesting, because I've now been watching back in sort of a more leisurely style the Watkins Bywater.
What do you mean in the way that he's clearly won because he's made you go and watch all of it? Yeah.
Yeah, no, completely. I mean, he says this isn't clickbait, but he loves that. He loves the controversy, and he does that so much better than you and I, because you and I are genuinely nice people. Yeah. And Chris is nice, but he knows how to push your buttons. He knows
what I love about Chris, and why anyone should be talking to him for consultancy, or he's probably isn't he on his treadmill at the moment, is that Chris understands structurally how these platforms work. Maybe not to the Jedi level of a Paul Long or anything else there, but in terms of owning that space, I think, coming back to again, what does Chris Watkins define? There's a few post answers on a post go to me personally here, but consistency is the one that he nails time in, time out, that so many people have burst onto the scene, you and me included, when we made that. But he wouldn't have missed yesterday morning, would he, Watkins? Not a chance. He understands, you know, just keep that drip going through, and it's very powerful.
No, look, I think he gets it. I think he gets it. But what was interesting was that in the comments section, as always, again, that's where the action is. It's where people get to sort of say what they think. And it's that whole debate as to whether or not Chris was using any kind of and also this whole topic, whether he was using it to, you know, to get those eyes on the prize, or should he have left it? Should it have been something that he didn't need to necessarily push out?
I've got a theory about Chris. Can I just say, is when he sits back in his chair with a coffee like that, it's staged. It's like, I think he's looking at the questions here in the mug like that. I think it was. I think. Do you know what it is? And we haven't had him on. In fact, actually, let's get him on. Let's get, what is it? El Padron. He is El Padron, and let's out the outer. I think he was very aware that some of the furore, if I'm going to say that word, that had been going on. He knew that Zoe obviously had a number of these views and wanted to be outspoken. And I think quite rightly they spoke about a way of getting this out. Now I know they're not going to admit that, but I see you. I see you, Watkins. I see you, Bywater. And you know what? It probably wasn't the worst thing in the world to do.
As you said, I'm not falling for this again. That was your comment. But I think my hero of the week comes from once again a man that I much admire, and I don't see enough of because he lives around the corner here, but we've not really met up. But Tom McGee, so he said, so I've watched the full video and I found it interesting. And for what it's worth, I can see, Christopher Watkins, you are genuinely coming from a place of wanting to be an ally and creating positive change. But I feel that your interviews are filled with sweeping statements and generalization about women's qualities and men's attributes, which actually reinforce many negative stereotypes. I've questioned before why you only ask women about the struggles of balancing work, families, etc. And on reflection after this video, I think a better question would be to all interviewees, how do you think that we as an industry can make positive changes to ensure we allow success from a more diverse group? Kudos to you, though, for allowing yourself to be publicly challenged like this. That was I just fell in love all over again.
Again, going back to Will Smith dropping the mic. That's a drop the mic moment there, isn't it? Albeit if you presented it as that question, that sounds so wanky that no one would ever bother answering it. Tom asked this of me actually on one of them there, and I just said, because a lot of the time when he asks that specific question, it'd be really boring asking it of men, but maybe I'm falling into that whole lazy misogyny and everything else there. You know, I don't know. My really crap way of trying to create a comparison was, you know, you wouldn't go to, whereas you might ask a black estate agent who'd been in the industry, how have you coped with, you know, has there been perceived racism? How have you fought through that? There's no point asking a white man about that, is there? Because he has no frame of reference. So you can either use your judgment to ask the right questions when you've got a limited amount of time, or you don't. That's where I came from. But I completely agree. Tom, at his heart, has got that absolutely spot on.
He nailed it. And Christian's right as well. Whether it was completely staged or not, we love it. We love a bit of controversy.
Again, who's he talking about? Is this Will Smith, or is it? Or
I think we can say it's
call it the Bywater affair, or is that taking it to another place?
I think that it sounds like some sort of government independent review.
I love the idea after that they just stopped and just looked into each other. No, we're going places now. One thing I would say is, Rob, can you imagine had he given an uppercut again? And this is not against Zoe. This is as far as I'm aware, Chris Watkins has never battered anyone. But can you imagine had he given an uppercut? Rob, you've got to get that testosterone out of your system, mate. You haven't told us how the boxing went. Please give us an update. Hopefully you're well and you're not too smashed up. What's that?
He's not talking about the boxing. Not talking about boxing, but I hope it went well. I saw him out there with his Kerfuffle merch on. When I wear my Kerfuffle merch, random strangers try and come up to me and deck me as well. So it might have been the same.
It's covered in blood as well, which is always lovely.
Right, talk to us about gazumping, Mr. Whale. You've spotted something in the press.
Well, it was just, wasn't it a slow news week last week though? Those are the weeks that are just dull as dishwater, aren't they? Let's have a look. Where is it here? Home buyers, here we are. Home buyers would like to see gazumping made illegal. The majority of UK home buyers, unsurprisingly, want to see the practice of gazumping made illegal, according to a new survey. As 1 in 10 fell foul of the backhanded practice during their last house hunts, the poll of over 1,000 home buyers to have purchased in the last 6 months alone found that 9% had experienced gazumping when looking to buy. It's clear from the poll carried out by HBB Solutions that the vast majority of home buyers are also strongly against this poor property industry practice. Some 89% do not believe it's right that gazumping can take place once a seller has already accepted an offer from a potential buyer, but before that sale is completed. So
you've got 1,000 home buyers, right? And 9% of them have experienced. That is not. First of all, it's not a massive survey, is it?
No.
Relatively, and only 9% of them experience gazumping, which would tell me that it's not extremely widespread.
No, I suppose so. Yeah.
And the other thing is, it talks about home buyers, but what happens when those home buyers become home sellers? Do they not want the commercial protection of the fact that they can, if they want to, cut a better deal for themselves? So, we talk about this a lot. I believe in so I think in Scotland, and Jim Parker can probably verify this, but in Scotland, I think that gazumping is a thing of the past. It has been for forever. Once it goes under offer to you, that is it. It's yours. And I don't think anybody can take it away from you. We've been talking about making it illegal here, but the reason why it happens is in a hot market, you are going to get better, but potentially better offers. The question is, what happens when the market weakens again and gazundering comes back? Are we going to outlaw that as well?
It's is it just the way of the world? Is it a non-story? Have we actually flagged a story that's a non-story there?
I think it's a commercial reality of being an estate agent. For what it's worth, I don't think, and this is really where the education piece needs to come in, is that as far as members of the public are concerned, estate agents do not encourage gazumping. They would much rather commit their time and resources to the buyer that they're already in bed with because they've started the work. They don't actively look around to sort of try and, upend a perfectly good sale. All of us as estate agents know the dangers of sort of falling between two stools and getting caught between, one deal that you've decided to close the door on, because you cannot then go back. So if I take your offer of 100,000, then Rob Wells walks in with 120,000 and I take his. When Rob lets me down, I go back to you and say, "Oh, hi Whaley, do you still want to buy the house?" You'll very rightly tell me where to shove my 100,000 offer, and you may come back at 90. So I think agents know the peril of that.
Yeah. The peril of being caught between two stools is something quite horrific as well. I hadn't even thought about that. But you're right as well. You only have to see anywhere on social media there is a overwhelming perception that the agents are orchestrating all of this, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. I think from the buyer's point of view, it's the agents. But this does lead us on perhaps the next topic. If you look at social media in general, and you look at pundits, even people like Watkin, over the past couple of weeks, we're starting to talk about the market perhaps leveling out a little bit, things becoming slightly less of an aggressive marketplace, less of a seller's marketplace, and things evening up. That whole sort of stock to to demand ratio is starting to shift. We're hearing that's what we're hearing from people anyway. And when you look at what they're possibly going to be up against in the next few months, I think it's an interesting. It'll be a new market for a lot of people.
Look at the little smile on your face there, rubbing your hands already. And is that
well? Look at this comment. Look at this comment from Rob, because he's just said, "I had a right knob of a surveyor." And if anybody's met a nice surveyor, please do write in and let us know. But a right knob of a surveyor, down value of property I had under offer by 55k. It sold, only sold over 300,000. But the truth is, the surveyors down valuing stuff, they are the canaries in the mine, because they are at the coalface. They're underwriting those loans, and if they're not willing to put their name to the prices being paid by buyers, that's where you start to see the cool off slightly. And I just think that you might start to look at having another market. Maybe that's a symptom of it.
Yeah, somebody else, I can't remember, was it Perry Power or someone else said it did a fantastic deal, 100k above, and they didn't even know if the mortgage was going to get approved. So there's all those kind of elements, aren't there, that are feeding into
I had one, the last one I dealt with, it was under offer, I think at something like 1.4. The bank came back at 1.2. And it's a hard bridge to close that, isn't it, between those two figures? So I just think that you need to, I think agents would be best advised at the moment to proceed cautiously. But when you talked before about agents being perceived by the public as being perhaps greedy, the problem that agents are up against in the living room is owners are extremely greedy at the moment. So when I go and see you as Mr. Homeowner, I say, hello, Mr. Homeowner, your house is worth about 700,000. And you'll say, but Derek sold his next door at 650,000 yesterday. Mine's got to be worth 750. And there is that greed out there. And so that is a real massive element in terms of asking prices and expectations. We're looking at, and there were some figures released the other day. I think Chris Watkin underlined those again. That a lot of the stuff is still sat there 6 months later. We talk about supply and demand demographic, not necessarily all being snapped up.
No unrealistic expectations again. And thank you for that. As you popped round to my house and put me right on that the other day, that was you're a greedy bastard.
When I popped round to your house, I counted no less than 4 or 5 for sale boards on your road. What is it about living next door to you that might make people want to reevaluate their life choice?
Even the Ukrainian refugees have said not circular roads. No chance.
But what's amazing is on your road, right, for sale, and you're an average. Let's say you're an average homeowner. Yeah. There was, I think it was a block that was possibly an HMO, something converted into HMO.
We refer to it as the dilapidated shithole, but yes, and actually it totally ties in with this. It was taken off the market, and again, unrealistic expectations. Vendor has put it on there and refusing to take anything less than what most people on this road would say is fanciful.
You see, Katie and Martin, we can do this if we try.
Yeah, I know. They're coming on, by the way. Have you seen they've agreed?
I saw they finally replied to your email. They've been ignoring me for months, and then they replied to you. Made me feel great.
If we can't have a successful podcast ourselves, we will absorb the talents of other people.
I do like their podcast, and but famously, it doesn't include anybody else.
They've got a lot of charisma between themselves as well, haven't they? Which, let's just say, some other podcasts might not have.
Not heard too much from that podcast particularly. Would like to see more of them. I don't know who you're talking about either. Don't know who you're talking about. What has Whaley got planned for this week? Are you going to be taking over the world?
Well, I'm looking to go. You're going to have to struggle without me, of course, because I'm away from next week. So luckily, I'm going away with obviously my family, which is limited. But what are we? I don't know what I've got on. We got again, haven't we got a strategy day between us tomorrow? We like our strategy days, don't we?
It's the ability to challenge you to your face and then make you buy drinks that everybody likes about strategy days.
At least you don't do it. At least you're not anonymous, so that's good. I hate buying drinks for people I don't know.
Man, it's good stuff. Oh, I just saw that other news piece, which was about the merger of those two organizations, Armour and Urpan.
So I had to ask you this because, again, how many associations do we need?
I don't know how many associations we need. The question is, how many associations have we got that people actually know about? And ultimately, and this is always the question that you ask somebody like Nathan or anybody at Property Mart, the value of an association can be judged, I think, almost solely in the value that it represents to members of the public.
Spot on.
There's no point having an association that doesn't bring any value to the industry, but more importantly, isn't respected by members of the public. And Property Greatness just joined us. Hello, Michelle.
Hello, Michelle.
Best agent in England.
There you are. Yeah, endorsed by Kerfuffle, as we said, going on to do even better and more brilliant things this year for all the naysayers out there. Did you see the little brooches she got made up?
I did see those. That was
honestly
fantastic.
In the windows, #1 agent, as advised by her Kerfuffle consigliere. She's absolutely nailing it again there. In fact, actually, Michelle, can you jump on with us? I'd like to get a halfway. How many has it been? Has it been about 3 or 4 months since? No, it's been about 6 months now, hasn't it? So we want a half-year report of how things are going. So do jump on with us when you can.
Yeah, and interesting to see how the public, because Michelle always. But she always had a complete sort of stronghold on her particular patch.
Yeah.
The question, how do I jump on? Oh, she's coming on now. Oh, this could be interesting. Michelle, I'm gonna send you a link right now. One sec.
Look, you just promoted there. Wait a minute then. Let me get my Vought of Arla top off.
Whaley, you keep talking about something. I'll send this to Michelle.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's it. So, I know what I can do. Here we are. People, we did mention, obviously, the, what was it called? The Property United for Ukraine. Obviously, a fantastic initiative going on. Started off by Kevin Scrupps, initially doing it for his own business, picked up by Agents Giving, Property Mart, and everyone is all over it. I keep stressing, can't stress enough how fantastic it is. Obviously, there's still, this is going to be going on for a while. So this is the Just Giving page here. I will pop it out again, and fantastically, £13,715 has been raised already. So that's absolutely fantastic. But obviously, they need lots more as well. If you're a supplier who wants to get involved with raising money for that, please drop us a line. If it's an agent, likewise, give us a call or drop Agents Giving a line and just find out how you can support. But use that thing there because we want to total up just how much, obviously, this fantastic industry is doing for that campaign.
And at the moment, looking at the number of refugees actually managing to get across, it's still not. I don't think the system is still running smoothly yet. In order to sort of accommodate as many people as we can. But from watching the news, it appears that you don't take on the Ukraine lightly, my friend.
They look like, fantastic.
Wow.
They actually look like losing the war over there. Obviously early days, but to hear the Russians obviously reassess and say, "Oh, we were only coming in this for the Donbass region," that's absolutely insane, isn't it? To see that. So
I was watching an interview and they said, look, you've got the Kiev football team, national football team, have all put on uniforms and are on the front line. Yeah. You've got an army of people in Kiev led by 2 international boxers. Yeah, these are people that are not going down easily.
Imagine the Klitschko brothers running across the field here. It's just like I was trying to explain to George, and I was saying, George, the reason the Russians can't win is because of this thing. He said there was a little old lady who was confronting the Russian troops, and she was throwing stuff at throwing, and it appeared that it was sunflower seeds, and it was accompanied with put these in your pockets so the flowers can grow when you're dead. It's like fucking
hell. They are absolute nails, but absolute nails. But
are we coming out? So we've backed Vota and Arla. Are we also going to go? Are we going to? Because we've stayed neutral between Russia and Ukraine now. So are we saying is Ukraine getting? Yeah,
we've never stayed neutral between Russia and we strongly support. Yeah. The Ukrainians.
And by the way, we were the first to do this, weren't we? So we weren't like those other people who were, staying on the sidelines.
I'm going to do two things. Just want to say how terrible and upsetting it was Taylor Hawkins' death this weekend. We've not released a statement on that, but there is a massive gap in rock and roll. And furthermore, we are firmly behind the Foo Fighters drummer. Yeah, terrible, right?
I don't know a single. I only like 3 bands: Status Quo, Depeche Mode, and James. So the Foo Fighters, I couldn't tell you one of their songs if I tried.
Sacrilege, my friend. David Grohl is like me, the nicest man in his industry.
I've seen interviews. I do like him, but again, I couldn't tell you. Start singing to me, or is this when the podcast ends?
This is when Michelle's here to save the day.
No, it doesn't. Look at this. Okay, you're going to promote her? Look at this. Wait a minute. Hello there, my lady.
Cheeky. How are you all?
How are you, Michelle?
I'm dandy, thank you. I couldn't get my MacBook, though, to work this morning with StreamYard. Okay. Perhaps do update, so...
Michelle, I think you're confusing this for the IT crowd. We are not tech support. Michelle, talking about it. This is about 6 months now, isn't it? It's got to be about that. So we'll pretend that this was. Oh, brilliant! That's great.
Oh, she's back with us.
She's back. That's all right. How is it going? How is the perception from the public about obviously you being the #1 estate agency in the UK?
To be honest with you, really good. I do get comments that they've definitely seen the video.
Yeah.
But bearing in mind, I've got it on Facebook going out everywhere all the time.
Yes.
If you land on the website, you tend to get the video pinged back to you through social media. So it's certainly kept us busy.
Yeah.
Market share's grown, which is good.
Brilliant.
So
have you managed a phased edge north, or are you going for a land grab?
I'm going more for market share. I mean, we've always been 1.5% anyway.
Yep.
So it just makes it a little bit easy to justify, because obviously I can say, and here's the evidence.
Do you just do that? Just say, look at this.
Yeah. So
please,
there's that.
Have you ever taken, because you got the big, what was it called? The big gong or whatever else. You've never taken that with you to an appraisal, have you? Because
I've not gone that far yet, but also don't forget, most of the valuations are still virtual.
Which is, of course, is one of the main reasons why I absolutely love your business. While everyone else kind of dropped tools and all of these digital things here, you kept going, and famously your conversion rate was as good, if not better, on doing those one there. It's absolutely amazing, really, really good.
Michelle, let me ask you. One of the things that we always talk about amongst ourselves as agents is the reaction of other agents and how they reacted to it. Yeah. What have they done locally to sort of try and counteract your prominence, or are they given up, or are you seeing massive overvaluing? What are you seeing?
There's certainly overvaluing going on. There's no doubt about that. A couple have promoted the esters maybe a little bit more. One's promoted what's the one that you pay for? British Property Awards.
The British Property Awards, yeah.
So they've suddenly increased their banner size on that. But in all honesty, the biggest thing is probably them saying that I can't be bothered to go out to evaluation.
Really? That's amazing.
Yeah, or now that my ego's got better of me, I think I can just do it via video.
Wow.
So
That's it. So, by the way, Kerfuffle Awards coming soon. Pay $1,000, get a platinum, and we don't have postcode exclusivity, so that's going to be good. We want to give everyone the right to it's like the seventh prize at school for everybody. I thought what you were going to do cleverly there, David, was wind it back and say to the initial story was, have you ever been trolled about it? Has there been an upsurge in trolling at all, Michelle, or are you? I mean, I personally think you're too nice.
Yeah, well, the question is who you are hearing this from, Michelle. Are you hearing it from the vendors once you've seen them, or are you seeing it online? Where are you hearing it?
No, from vendors.
Okay.
There's quite a few that are quite good at reporting back to John to let him know what was said in conversation. But as John's taught me, if they're not talking about you, then obviously we're not doing something right. So.
Michelle, do you know when you said that, I shuddered a little bit. It had a sort of almost mafia tones there, like they told John and then something happened. He went into action.
No, so I mean, we just paddle our own boat. I think in many ways, video valuations has become a USP.
Yeah, that's great, isn't it?
Which is quite strange. And yes, I've still got some people who say this is a bit strange.
Yeah.
And I joke back, I wish it was strange for me too, but I'm 2 years into this. I always explain to them I've got 21 years experience valuing, 2 years as a virtual valuer. And I asked the comment of, let me know at the end of the presentation how you actually felt about it now.
And are they going around the house with their phone to show you what the house looks like, presumably?
Yeah. It's just
and they're quite comfortable with that.
It's just like a normal valuation. I send I use obviously Akaboom. I have a video in there which explains the process.
Yeah, it looks very good.
When they answer the telephone, introduce myself. We have a chat about their moving plans, just like you would do if you were sat down in a front room. I then ask them if I can share my research that I've done the day before about their house with them. So, and they're always very impressed with things like the title deeds and the flood risks and the broadband speeds and so on. Excellent. Then it's show me around, just like you would do if you're there in person. Explain to them how to flip the camera and make the house big on the screen and shrink me down. I joke about being shrunk down because now I've got my brace on. Don't have to, I can go tinier. And then we sit back down, reverse the screen back, and then we talk about the house, features, benefits, best way to market it, what I love about it, what I think clients will love about it, and the best way to launch to market in order to get the best possible price. Just like a normal valuation.
Michelle, would I be right in saying in your area you've got it would be there's a senior demographic and they're quite comfortable enough with still, with all that. You never get that computer says no moment, do you? Or is it just not an issue?
I wouldn't say senior. I'd say we're an academic city.
Oh, okay. Right.
And it's okay. We've got our fair share of seniors. And if somebody hasn't got technology, of course, go out and see them. We don't refuse. It's just that the first question always is one of the values books is, do you have a smartphone?
Okay. So is that how you position it then? I was just, that's an interesting. How do you decide whether it's going to be a visit or a virtual?
Basically, book the valuation, take the details as normal.
Yeah.
And then when you get onto booking it, the line is, very strange question, but do you have a smartphone?
Yeah.
And they're either going to say yes or no. If they have, brilliant. Have you got WhatsApp? And they go, yeah, great. And then we say, welcome to the world of video valuations, the modern way of valuing houses. If they haven't, it's just booked in as a normal valuation. Or if the house happens to be exceptionally large. So my colleague booked in a video valuation for me at a big house that I've just listed, 800 grand. It's in 1/2 acre grounds.
Yeah.
Just getting around the house, I'm going to have broken Wi-Fi capability. So on that one, I called myself and said, can I come in person?
Right.
That makes a lot of sense. And in terms of the attitudes of vendors, one of the things we were talking about earlier on was that perhaps it is other agents that are overvaluing stuff, but this a very heated market always makes people a little bit more ambitious with their pricing, and perhaps, they've seen great results that people are getting, offers over asking, and all that sort of stuff that's coming in. Are vendors being reasonable? Do you think they know the reality of where we're headed? Do you see this sort of I think we as agents need to perhaps train the vendors or educate them that the next 6 to 12 months might not be as crazy?
You've pinched my line of education.
Oh, there you go.
So yes, education is a big part of it. So things, I do my market video update reports where I compare the last 3 years. I use the data loss stats to show exactly house price growth or minus. And I always send that out as a video, one to everybody of value that's not come to the market yet as part of a keep in touch policy, but also before I go to evaluation, they get that video through just to let them know current market conditions.
I feel like we've got to stop studying here. I think we're impinging on Stephen Brown's improvement and training here with this. This isn't what this podcast is normally about.
We can ask Michelle, random personal questions.
Okay, I want to do random personal.
Michelle, let me ask you a random personal question. You've mentioned your braces. How's it been valuing houses with braces?
Well, the good thing is I could talk. The bad thing is a lady said to me, luckily I'd valued a partner's house the week before I got the instruction. They weren't planning on selling hers, but wanted a valuation. This was a face-to-face because they're both elderly, new relationship. And she said, I make some really great ginger biscuits. And I said, I'd love to say I'll have a ginger biscuit, but with my braces in, I can't eat. And she said, I've got an idea. So when I got there, she'd made some little sponge buns, and she said, you can suck them. She said, my late mum, you suck them. Right, so cup of coffee with my little sponge bun. So I'm sucking it. All's great. About 10 minutes later, I felt a strange taste in my mouth, which obviously was a little bit of blood. Right, so I just kind of thought there. And then a partner said to me, do you eat clients that don't instruct you?
Michelle, that's a great story. Now that's a valuation story for the ages. That.
Yeah, so I was covered in blood.
Oh my God. And you're still increasing market share, and that, people, is why she's the #1 estate agent in the UK today. What you can't even that's got to be a marketing image, just you Dracula style.
I mean, I came out I went to the bathroom, sorted myself out. As I was leaving, I could still feel I was bleeding. I got another client appointment. I rang John from the car. I was in tears, I admit. So
that puts my hoisin sores down the top of my jacket story to shame. That's incredible. So can I just ask a question then, Michelle, because David rudely jumped in there, which I'll have to talk to him about later. How are the team still sort of, they inspired still by there, or is it very much yesterday's news now?
I'm not going to say it's yesterday's news. I mean, they can't miss it, can they? It's everywhere. They've all got it pinned now with the little badges to the shirt.
Look at those.
Yeah.
Look at those.
So, but the team know we've got a job to do. We want to enjoy ourselves at work, but we've got targets to hit. This month's been a biggie because we had 41 sales in March last year. And don't forget, we are only one branch. We are only a small team.
Amazing,
yeah. But I think we'll hit 40 today. And we've still got a few days to go.
Amazing.
And same with new instructions. I'm after marginal gain on there. Did 33 last year. Again, I'll hit 33 today. So hopefully I should be 10% up by the end of the month.
So Michelle, what we're saying here is when I thought you had many different decisions to make about keeping this low key, going large, and a certain brilliant prop tech legend told you to go large there. What I'm hearing from you here today, getting all Tom Panos, is that this is working amazingly well for you.
Definitely. I mean, you've got to really, really push it. There's no point keeping it secret. And it was a mixed opinion because obviously before the awards, there's other awards happening, comments in Facebook groups about how you should do it, being humble and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, actually, no, sod it.
You are humble, though. Okay, I know you're doing the self-deprecation thing there, but, even though you are talking about it, this isn't... you're not going out and they're tub thumping and everything else about it. What it is a clear line of delineation between you and everything else, isn't it? You're not just out there saying we're different to every other agent. It's been proved so, and that's where I believe that with the right awards, and we've already mentioned some of them, which is a little bit more dodgy. It can perfectly dovetail with your marketing, can't it?
It can, and the other thing that's interesting is because I like to monitor things on social media, is I've got the official winners video, which Property Comedy very nicely make for you as part of your kit. Yeah. But I've also screen grabbed the actual video from the streaming where we actually go to stage.
Yeah.
And that is the better performing video.
Hang on, didn't I? I thought I videoed you again with where I just had to tug my forelock to you.
Yes.
You said to me, "Wouldn't you mind going up there?" And then I got all David Bailey as well, and unusually for me, kept a steady hand after about 4 hours drinking, which was unusual.
I've used it a few times as well, but we managed, because he streamed it.
Yeah.
We then recorded the screen bit and then cut it down.
Beautiful.
And that's worked very, very well.
Who is this Christian Byfield? I don't know anything about him. Oh, no, that's right. I do know because, of course, he has won his own fair share of awards. You have to shout about awards. They're not the Oscars. The public are unaware and must be educated, again, as part of several messages of quality, but shout you must. Getting all Yoda at the end there, Christian, but well done. Okay, look, Michelle, we're going to have to jump onto ours. Thank you so much for jumping on. This is going to be a series, even though we've just made it up on the floor. Oh, that was the email I was going to send you. The one I sent the other day.
Yes.
Don't worry, like one of my many other half-finished emails, it is coming to you, and this is along the angle. But I think it's really great to hear. Actually, you're having a great time. Again, couldn't happen to a nicer business, and so keep it up.
Will you give our love to both Boots and John?
I will do. They're both working from home today because today's officially my day off. So I was listening to you do my cleaning.
Oh, wow. Well, we won't get in the way of that.
I'll go back to the bathroom clean.
Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you all soon. Thank you, Michelle.
Cheers, all.